All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube, Pastor Dowell here. Uh, I don't know what they're teaching in the public school curriculums nowadays. I really truly don't, but when I look at this generation right here, it seems that this generation is out of touch. And they really truly don't know what's going on in this world. And if you're in this, if you was born in this generation, meaning I'm gonna say maybe 35 and under, okay? If you was born in this generation and you get all your information from social media or you get it from news sources, mainstream news media, MSNBC, which is owned by Big Pharma, CNN, Fox News, and any one of the major mainstream news medias. If you've ever been interviewed before, I have. If you ever had a story written about you before, I have. You know that the spin is in. See, they're banking on the majority of American public not knowing what's really truly going on. And when they say, we report, you decide, they're trying to control the information that's entering into your ears. And then you make decisions based off of what they're reporting, not on your own independent research and your own independent investigation. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm probably just as happy as anybody else about the Supreme Court in a 6-3 vote knocked down all of the Biden mandates. Every single one of them. Just knocked them all down. What is concerning, though, is that I think Americans as a whole have literally truly have lost their way and don't understand that you don't need the Supreme Court of the United States of America, nor do you need Joe Biden or anybody, as far as that go, to tell you what you can and cannot do with your body. You are free. You are born free. And your freedoms does not derive from government. It derives from the creator of the universe. And until people start thinking about that and really truly meditating on it and educating themselves, the republic is going to be lost. We're already in a decline. This administration has definitely, Joe Biden ran as a moderate, but this has been the worst administration, and I mean the worst administration that I have ever experienced and have ever seen in my history. And I'm going to say in the history of the United States of America, based on what's going on. He ran as a moderate, but he is so far to the left. And I don't know who it is. I don't know who is the neck that is turning that head of Biden. But it's obvious that their lights are on, but ain't nobody home up here. But to sit up there and for us to think for 1 minute that 9 people wearing black coats, black suit tops, or black robes, whatever you want to call it, can control morality, the way we choose to live, the way we choose to think, the way we choose to want to function as a society, and to think that they can make a choice and decision concerning your liberties and freedoms. I think everybody in this country, in fact, I know everybody in this country, the majority of people today, that got it wrong. Government is there to serve us, the people, and not we, the people, the government. We are their leaders, and they are our servants. You got to get it right. They are our public servants. And there's no way that when I look and see what's going on today, I cannot believe that the general American public elected these officials. I believe that they've been selected, personally. And because I'm an American, I have the right to my opinion. I have the right to say what I want to say, because now they're trying to censor all that. And they're hiding all that behind private companies and private corporations and everything else, and they're putting gag orders, and then you have to turn around and think of another alternative ways to say things or do things in order to not offend people's feelings. I've never seen feelings bleed, but apparently a lot of people's feelings are bleeding. And then the next big thing. I read a news article the other day, and I'm not going to go over it much on this video right here, and I'm definitely not going to read the article. But it's obvious when you see my name on YouTube right here, Pastor Dowell. Most people don't know what that means because there's so many charlatans, there's so many hirelings, there's so many deceivers, there's so many evil beasts and slow betters out there that are claiming that same title. But I assure you, just because somebody says that they're something doesn't mean that they are something. I promise you. So not only do I talk about social, political, economics, and religious perspectives and point of views, but it's something when you know what the Bible says, because I read it. Matter of fact, I got it in there on the kitchen table right now, getting ready to go study some more. But over in Sweden, and let me say this again. The Bible talks about a mark being put on the right hand or in the forehead of people. And a lot of people have associated that with the microchip. But it's amazing how now that over in Sweden that people are lining up and voluntarily getting a microchip inserted, and then they tell them each one whatever hand they want to. Now, I interpret right hand or forehead, not literal right hand. I determine right hand as power. You know what I mean? When of course that's my interpretation, and you can take it literally, figurative if you want to, but right hand always denotes and has to do with power when you're interpreting the scripture. But it'll be something that if this wasn't called many centuries ago, but to sit up there and voluntarily to get a microchip in you so that it could be your passport, it's loaded with information about you. I mean, the government is tracking and they're tracking everything you do anyway. I mean, I'll give you an idea. I remember when we came up with these cell phones, what did people used to do? Like when I used to travel, when I had them cell phones, when they first came out, the first thing I would do is take out the battery. Why? Because it's a tracking device. Then what did the companies end up doing later? They made sure you couldn't remove the battery. Even if you cut it off, it's still emitting a signal. So it's still tracking. And most people think, well, I'm functioning in the private. Oh, you really are, huh? Okay, so then you go out there and then you use your credit card. And everywhere you go, you swipe your credit card, you're leaving you're leaving trail behind. I mean, they have made up many different ways that they can keep up with you, big brother. And they don't mind doing it either. And they actually think, and people have gotten to the point today where they're so conditioned that even the world says, well, what have you got to hide? It's not the purpose that I have something to hide. It's not the meaning that I have something to hide. It's just the fact of the matter. It's none of your business what I'm doing. And it's none of my business what you're doing. But now all of a sudden everybody thinks that it's everybody's right to know and business to know what you're doing. And now you have, in the day we used to call it this, neighbors looking for an opportunity to narc on you. It's crazy. I was doing something on my own land. Then I had a neighbor call the EPA on me for out of what they call concerns, even though it wasn't concern at all. Well, anyway, we've been neighbors for 24 years. And so when I saw him out in the yard and he waved at me and asked me to come on up, we had a conversation. I looked at him dead in his eye. I said, you called the EPA on me? Charles, and he starts going into his little tap dancing and stuff. But I'll tell you what he did. He has severed and he has damaged that relationship that we had for 24 years. He's damaged that one greatly. Even though the EPA didn't have no bearing on what we were doing, or it didn't make no difference. I mean, but just the idea of him, rather than contacting me, which he said he did, he's talking to somebody else, but he didn't like the way that the people responded to him. Well, whoever it was, the person that was responding to you, it sounds like to me, after doing my own due diligence and investigation, it was somebody that was visiting the land, somebody that don't know the mannerisms, the way we do things. But nevertheless, people don't take it kindly when you come up and ask, and where is Charles or where is Pastor Dowell and stuff like that, because unlike other organizations, other assemblies, the people in Straitway as a whole, they love me and I love them. And if we don't know you, we're not going to sit up and roll the red carpet out for you. I mean, just the other day, I'm going to end on this story right here, because I talked about 3 different things, digressions. I'm going to show you something, okay? Now, the other day, they had a Jewish synagogue, I believe it was down in Texas. A man was holding some rabbis and some congregation people hostage or whatever. Anyway, they probably sent in probably about 40, 50 people against that one guy, 2 guys, whoever it was, and they shot and they killed him. And they're heralded as heroes. The first thing that Biden did was get up behind the mic and said, this was a terrorist attack. Now, I remember Dalen Roof going into that black church down in South Carolina. I didn't hear no president stand up and say it was a terrorist attack. As a matter of fact, the police actually put him in the back of the car, drove him through the drive-through. I think it was either Burger King or McDonald's, and bought him a burger after he killed 9 people. Nobody even try to call it domestic terrorism or terrorism in general. And there you have the underlying and undertone of racism that most people like you know, if things happen in this world, you get excited for a moment, then you forget. And then you move on. I don't forget. I hadn't forgotten. And you can't forget, especially when you go to the grocery stores today, that the shelves are damn near empty. That's what Russia used to look like in the 80s. You see it every time you go to the gas pump. Gas is up over 40% since the Biden administration has been in. This epidemic, pandemic, whatever you want to call it, under this administration right here, more deaths has occurred under the Joe Biden administration, who promised that he was going to eradicate the virus. You can't pick and choose on stuff like that, but that's what he said. Than ever under Donald Trump, and you got mainstream news media lip butt shutting about it. Now you got other people that are Democrats, like Jimmy Dole and all of them, and I forget the name of the other guy, but they're coming out hard against this administration because, I mean, what more can you do? They're so far off the beaten path. You can't help but to come out hard against it. So we got the border that is still out of control. We got the governor of Florida, DeSantis, and them. They come up with a real good plan. All of the immigrants that are coming in to this country through the border and stuff, deport them all and send them all. I mean, or just send them all to Delaware, Joe Biden's home state. Just flood the whole state with them. That's a good idea. I think it's a real good idea. You know, it's good that we got governors that really truly understand the role of government. But so we've got inflation running off the chain at 7% right now, and it's just getting started and cranked up. And I told you last year, before the turn of the Roman year, that things are not going to get better. They're going from bad to worse. We have a buffoon of a president and a hyena vice president that can't speak, can't talk. Everything is funny, and ain't a damn thing funny. It's just sad. There's nothing funny. And so we're watching the erosion of our society and the decline of it, and you know, rightfully so. We've had a 200-something year run, and usually world powers, nations and stuff, they usually decline after that. They usually make the exact same mistakes that other empires that was once great, they end up falling. And I'm going to end the video on this. I'm going to tell you what happens. You see, when you start off warriors, and you go conquer land and conquering people and you set up your nation and you do all this stuff, right? You have that mentality of being a warrior and superiority and we're the greatest and all this other stuff. It only takes a little bit of time when the fight gets out of you. You start making concessions and you begin to get weak. Because everybody wants to have and live their own independent life. Have my own home, have my own land to be able to grow my own garden. That used to be what America was all about. Now everything is about greed and selfishness and discord and now people are just, you can't even, a man just the other day he was taking his children to Chuck E. Cheese and somebody just drove by and just shot him in the back and killed him dead. I don't see too many people talking too bad about Pastor Dowell now when I told you, you better arm yourself. What I do like, though, is I do like all the people that have been fired under these mandates. They are moving. The South is being flooded right now. You can't even hardly find land to buy because people are moving out of what I call these communist states. They're coming over here to the South. And whereas they wasn't making much money over there, now they're making a lot of money over here. And the very nursing profession that used to be touted as heroes, now they're the villains of the state. They're moving to states where they can exercise their freedom and liberty. And I might also add that your freedom and liberty, it stays your right at the end of a barrel of a gun. Go read the Constitution of the United States of America. And of course, it's still not going to resonate in a lot of people's mind. It just isn't going to do it because people simply don't care. They don't care about too much of anything. I've learned to accept that people in this world are selfish, they're self-centered, self-focused, and self-absorbed. And so anytime I detect that type of people or spirit around me, I usually just try to get them out of my life because life is too short to sit up and to tolerate someone that has a very unchangeable spirit. Stubborn, stiff-necked, stout-hearted, value their own opinion above the whole and all this. I don't have time for all that. I didn't do what I've done and I haven't lived what I've lived and sacrificed what I've sacrificed to tolerate people who are inconsistent with the Bible. It's my life. I pick and choose it. I can do that. But I do have a lot of wonderful brothers and sisters that understand this, comprehend this, and are with me in this life and this fight, and it's just a wonderful thing. But I just thought I'd come on here this morning and give you just a little bit about what's going on here in this world, which you probably already know, to put a defibrillator on our mind and to remind us that the decline is still going. It's going to keep on going. And unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be another 3 years of this mess. And even if Joe Biden croaks, you still got another 3 years under the hyena. But I tell you, don't worry about too much of what government is doing. Govern yourself. And you should have, if you've been listening to me long enough, you would have known how to govern yourself. But live free and govern yourself. And be at peace. Like right now, we got, 6 inches of snow out here again? And we're fine. We're taking it easy, doing the things we need to do, feed the livestock, living a life. We really, truly are. But I hope that you can get understanding. If you can, share this video, hit the like button, subscribe, get other people to subscribe, pass this video along. Maybe somebody else would hear. But y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Be back soon.